In the middle of Sunday Mass, Bruno Marcello, the richest businessman in town, stopped everything. He pointed at Donna Helena, a 78-year-old elderly woman. "Your offering is a disgrace to God." Silence took over the church. Donna Helena felt all heads turn toward her. Her hands were shaking. She tried to hold back the tears, but the humiliation was visible. She wanted to disappear. The embarrassment burned her skin. But why did he do that? What did a humble elderly woman do to deserve being humiliated in front of everyone? And why didn't anyone say anything? Until Father Antonio stopped the Mass. What he said to that millionaire divided the community forever and changed everything. Comment: is this fair? I want to know what you would do in this situation. My name is Helena. I am 78 years old, and that Sunday I just wanted to offer my gift to God in peace. I wake up early every day. I always have. My body no longer obeys as it once did, but routine keeps me alive. Sunday is a sacred day, a day to go to church, a day to give thanks for another week of life, even if this life is made of small things. A cup of coffee, the birds singing at the window, sunlight coming through the torn curtain. I have lived alone for 12 years. Since my husband, Sebastião, passed away. He was a good man. He worked his entire life as a bricklayer. He built houses for others, but never managed to build one for us. We rented our whole lives. I have no regrets. He did the best he could, and so did I. Sebastião was a man of faith. He taught me that God does not abandon those who are faithful, that it doesn't matter the size of the offering, but the size of the heart. He always said, "Helena, God knows what each person can give, and He values every penny given with love." I never forgot those words. Today, my income is a pension that barely covers the bills. After rent, electricity, water, gas, very little is left. Sometimes I choose between buying medicine or a kilo of rice, but I always set aside a little for the church. Always, no matter how much it is. God doesn't look at the value. God looks at the heart. That's what I learned since childhood, and that's what I believe to this day. That Sunday, I set aside my offering carefully. I kept it inside a white envelope, one of those simple ones I bought at the corner market. I sealed it with care, as if I were delivering something precious. And it was precious. To me, it was. It represented sacrifice. It represented faith. It represented love. I got ready slowly. I wore my navy blue dress, the same one I've worn for years. It's faded, but it's clean. It's dignified. I put on some light lipstick, the kind that costs little, but makes me feel presentable. I combed my white hair, already thinning, and pinned it with a clip. I put on my low-heeled black shoes, the ones that squeak a little when I walk. I took my shoulder bag, put the envelope inside, and left. The walk to the church takes 15 minutes. I could take the bus, but I prefer to walk. It does me good. It makes me feel useful, alive. As I walk, I see the neighborhood houses. Some renovated, painted with new gates. Others like mine, old, peeling, but still standing, still resisting. The sun was strong that morning. I felt the heat on my skin. My feet hurt a little, but I continued. I always continue. Faith moves me. Hope sustains me. I arrived at the church at 9:40. Mass would begin at 10. I like to arrive early. I like to sit in the same place, third pew on the left by the wall. It's my place, everyone knows. No one sits there. It's as if it were reserved for me. There I feel safe. There I feel welcomed. I greeted some people. Donna Margarida, who is also a widow. She always hugs me warmly. Seu Geraldo, who sells pastries at the market and always asks how I am. Young Camilla, who smiles at me and calls me grandma. That church is my second home. Those people are my family, the family I have left. Mass began. Father Antonio went up to the altar. He is a serious man but fair. He has been at the parish for more than 20 years. Everyone respects him. So do I. He knows each person by name. He visits the sick. He helps the poor. He is a true priest, a shepherd who takes care of his sheep. We sang the entrance hymn. I don't have a beautiful voice, but I sing anyway. I sing with my heart. I made the sign of the cross. I followed the readings. I listened to the gospel attentively. The word of the day spoke about generosity, about giving without expecting a reward, about loving your neighbor as yourself. I heard every word. I kept every teaching. I felt my heart warmed. Everything was normal. Everything was peaceful until the moment of the offerings came. The priest asked the faithful to bring their offerings to the altar. It was the moment I always waited for, the moment to give to God what was mine, the moment to give thanks. I held my envelope with both hands. My hands tremble a little. It's from age. I stood up slowly, supporting myself on the front pew. I walked down the center aisle. My steps were slow but firm. I looked at the altar, at the crucifix, at Jesus. I was almost reaching the offering basket when I noticed a movement beside me. A man stood up from one of the front pews. He wore an expensive suit, well-tailored, fine fabric, a shiny watch on his wrist, one of those that costs more than my house. Shoes that seemed never to have stepped on dirt ground. I recognized him immediately, Bruno Marcello. He is known in town, owner of a construction company. Rich, very rich. They say he built half the buildings downtown. They say he has imported cars, a beach house, trips abroad. He attends church, but he's not like us. He arrives late, sits in front, gives large offerings, and makes sure everyone sees. He never greeted me, never looked at me, never asked my name. To him, I was invisible, until that day. At that moment, he was behind me in the offering line. I placed my envelope in the basket. Simple, discreet, as I always do. I don't expect applause. I don't expect recognition. I just do what my heart tells me. That's when I heard it. Seriously? His voice was loud, cutting. Everyone heard. I turned around, not understanding. He was looking at the basket, and then he looked at me. His eyes held contempt. His lips, a cruel smile. Seriously? That's your offering? My heart began to beat faster. I didn't understand what was happening. Why was he talking to me? Why that tone? Why that look? He smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was a smile of scorn, of mockery. That doesn't even pay for a cup of coffee. I felt my face get hot. My hands started to tremble more. Not from age, from shame, from humiliation. I looked around. Everyone was looking, everyone. Donna Margarida, Seu Geraldo, Camila, the priest, the altar boys. No one moved, no one spoke. The silence was heavy, suffocating. Bruno Marcello continued, God doesn't need charity, lady. Either give with dignity or don't give at all. I couldn't respond. My throat was closed, my legs weakened. I just wanted to leave, disappear, die of shame. I lowered my head and tried to return to my pew, but each step seemed to weigh a ton. I heard the silence, that silence that screams, that silence that judges, that silence that condemns. I sat in my place. I didn't look at anyone. I couldn't. My hands were shaking so much that I had to interlace my fingers to hide them. My chest was tight. My head was throbbing. My heart hurt. Why did he do that? What did I do wrong? I wasn't asking for anything. I wasn't bothering anyone. I was just giving what I could, what was mine, what came from my heart. But to him, it wasn't enough. To him, I was a reason for mockery, a reason for shame. I felt a tear roll down my face. I wiped it quickly before anyone saw, but it was too late. Everyone had already seen. Everyone already knew. I was the woman who gave a ridiculous offering, the woman who was humiliated in front of everyone, the woman who had no dignity. I closed my eyes. I tried to pray, but I couldn't concentrate. My mind was chaotic. Bruno's words echoed. That doesn't even pay for a cup of coffee. Either give with dignity or don't give at all. Dignity. He spoke of dignity, but he was the one who took mine away. I don't know how long I sat there, paralyzed. I heard the priest's voice in the background, but I didn't understand what he was saying. My head was far away, very far away, until suddenly his voice stopped. There was a different silence, not the silence of judgment, but the silence of anticipation. I slowly opened my eyes, and I saw. Father Antonio was descending from the altar, and he was walking toward the front pew, toward Bruno Marcello. Father Antonio was descending from the altar. His steps were firm, determined. He did not take his eyes off Bruno Marcello. I had never seen the priest descend from the altar in the middle of Mass. Never. That was unusual. That was serious. The entire church held its breath. No one moved. No one coughed. It was as if time had stopped. Bruno Marcello noticed the approach. He still had that smile on his face. That smile of superiority, of someone who thinks he is above everything and everyone. The priest stopped before him. He looked into his eyes and remained silent for a few seconds. Those seconds seemed eternal. Then the priest spoke. His voice was calm but firm. Each word was said with weight, with intention. "Mr. Bruno, you have just publicly humiliated a daughter of God." Bruno laughed, a nervous laugh, but still arrogant. "Father, I just told the truth. Offerings should be dignified, not crumbs." The priest did not look away. Dignified. Do you know what dignity is? Bruno frowned. He did not expect to be confronted. Not there, not in front of everyone. Dignity is giving what is fair, not charity. The priest took a deep breath. His expression was serious, almost sad. Dignity, Mr. Bruno, is giving what one can, not what is left over. Donna Helena gave everything she had. Everything. Do you know that? Bruno shrugged. If it was everything, then maybe she shouldn't have given anything. It was at that moment that something changed in the priest's face. It was not anger. It was disappointment, deep disappointment. "Do you remember the story of the poor widow in the Gospel?" Bruno remained silent. He clearly didn't remember, or pretended not to remember. The priest continued, now speaking to the entire church. Jesus was in the temple. He watched people depositing their offerings. The rich gave much, gold coins, silver coins. They made sure everyone saw. But then came a poor widow. She placed 2 small coins. And Jesus said to the disciples, "This widow gave more than everyone, because the others gave from what they had left over. She gave everything she had to live on." The silence in the church was absolute. I felt tears streaming down my face again. But now they were different tears, not of shame. They were tears of relief, of recognition. The priest looked at Bruno again. "Donna Helena is that widow. She gave what she had, with love, with faith, and you, with all your wealth, have just belittled her sacrifice." Bruno began to look uncomfortable. He looked around. Everyone was looking at him, not with admiration, not with envy, but with judgment. "I didn't mean to offend, Father. You meant exactly that, to offend, to humiliate, to show that you are superior." The priest's words were like blades. They cut deep. "But let me tell you something, Mr. Bruno. In God's eyes, her offering is worth more than everything you have ever given. Because she gave with sacrifice, you give with leftovers." Bruno tried to respond, but couldn't. His mouth opened, but no words came out. The priest took a step back. "If you cannot respect the humble, then perhaps this is not the right church for you." It was like a bomb. No one expected that. Expel one of the parish's largest donors? It was unthinkable. But the priest did not back down. He turned his back on Bruno and walked to where I was sitting. My heart was beating irregularly. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to look. The priest knelt beside me. He held my hands, those old, trembling, ashamed hands. "Donna Helena, your offering was received by God, and it is precious. Never be ashamed of giving what comes from the heart." I couldn't hold back the tears. I sobbed. My chest burned, but it was a different pain. It was a pain that heals. "Thank you, Father. Thank you." He smiled, a kind smile, fatherly. "You are a blessing to this community." He stood up, returned to the altar, and continued the Mass. Bruno Marcello remained seated, but no longer with arrogance. He was pale, head down, hands folded. The rest of the Mass was a blur. I was still processing everything. My mind was confused, my heart broken, but at the same time warmed. When Mass ended, people began to leave. Some passed by Bruno without looking. Others cast disapproving glances. He left quickly, without speaking to anyone. I remained seated. I didn't have the strength to get up until Donna Margarida came to me. "Helena, are you all right?" I nodded, but I was still shaking. "You didn't deserve that." "No one deserved that." So Geraldo also approached. "That man is a coward, humiliating a lady like you." Camilla hugged me. "Grandma Helena, I love you. You are the most generous person I know." Those words warmed me. They made me feel that there was still goodness in the world. Father Antonio came to me before retiring to the sacristy. "Donna Helena, may I speak with you for a moment?" I agreed. He helped me stand up, and we went to a more private corner of the church. I couldn't let that pass. I couldn't. "You didn't need to do that, Father. I didn't want to cause problems." "You didn't cause any problem. The problem was already there. I just exposed it." He sighed. "You know, Donna Helena, I have seen this type of behavior for a long time. People who think money buys everything, even respect, even God. But it doesn't. It never did. He's going to stop coming to church because of this. If he stops, it's because he was never really here. Coming to church is not about showing up. It's about finding God and respecting others." I agreed. He was right. "Would you like me to take you home?" "No need, Father. I can go by myself." "Are you sure?" "Yes. I need to walk. I need to think." He smiled and blessed me. I left the church. The walk back was different. My steps were slower. My head was full. I thought about everything that happened, about the humiliation, about the pain, but also about the priest, about the defense, about people's affection. I arrived home. I sat in my old armchair. I looked out the window. The sky was blue. The birds were singing. And I realized something. I was not less for having little. I was not unworthy for giving what I could. I was enough. I always was. But that day taught me something. Not everyone sees the value of what is given with love. Not everyone respects sacrifice. And sometimes it takes someone brave to remind them of that. That priest, that man of faith, he did that for me. He defended me when I couldn't defend myself, and I will never forget. But the story didn't end there, because in the following days something happened, something no one expected. Bruno Marcello returned, and what he did changed everything. I spent the following 3 days inside my house, not out of shame, but because I needed time. Time to process everything. Time to understand what I felt, what I still feel. On Monday, Donna Margarida knocked on my door. She brought fresh bread and coffee. We sat at the small table in my kitchen and talked. She told me that the entire town was talking about what happened. "Helena, you've become the topic of the week. Everyone is talking about it." I didn't know if that was good or bad. "And what are they saying?" "Most are on your side. They say Bruno Marcello was cruel, that the priest did the right thing." That brought me some relief, but also concern. "And him? Bruno Marcello. What did he say?" Donna Margarida was silent for a moment. "They say he's furious, that he spoke badly of the priest to his friends, that he said he was publicly humiliated." I felt a tightness in my chest. I didn't want to be the cause of problems for Father Antonio. He didn't deserve that. I shouldn't have gone to church that day. "Don't say that, Helena. You have every right to be there. It's Bruno who should have kept quiet." She was right. But the guilt still weighed on me. On Tuesday, I received a visit from Seu Geraldo. He was worried. "Donna Helena, are you all right?" "I am, Seu Geraldo. Thank you for asking. Look, I came here because there's something you need to know." My heart raced. "What?" "Bruno Marcello went to the diocese. He filed a formal complaint against Father Antonio." I felt the world spin. "A complaint? Why?" "He said the priest exposed him publicly, that he was disrespectful, that he abused his authority." It couldn't be true. The priest only defended what was right. "And the bishop? What did he say?" "We don't know yet, but they say he's going to call the priest for a conversation." I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking, if the priest lost his position because of me, I would never forgive myself. He had dedicated his entire life to the church, to helping people, and now he was being punished for defending a poor old woman like me. On Wednesday, I decided I needed to do something. I couldn't just sit still. I couldn't let the priest bear the consequences alone. I got dressed, took my purse, and went to the parish. I arrived around 10 in the morning. The secretary, Donna Irene, was at the reception. "Donna Helena, what a surprise! Are you all right?" "I am, Donna Irene. I came to speak with Father Antonio. Is he in?" "He is, but he's a bit busy. He has a meeting with the bishop this afternoon." My heart tightened even more. "I know. That's why I need to speak with him before." She hesitated, but eventually agreed. "Let me notify him." A few minutes later, she returned. "He can see you now." I entered the priest's office. He was sitting behind a simple desk, with papers scattered and an open Bible beside him. When he saw me, he smiled, but it was a tired smile. "Donna Helena, good to see you. How are you?" "I'm fine, Father, but I came here because I'm worried. About you." He sighed. "You heard about the complaint." "I did. And I can't stop thinking that all of this is my fault." The priest stood up and came to me. He held my hands. "Donna Helena, none of this is your fault. None of it. But if I hadn't gone to church, if you hadn't gone, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do what was right, to defend those who needed to be defended. But you could lose everything because of this." He smiled, a sad but sincere smile. "If I lose my position for defending a sheep of the flock, then I will lose it with a clear conscience." Tears streamed down my face. "Father, I didn't want this. I didn't want to cause problems." "You didn't cause any. The problem already existed. Bruno Marcello had been acting this way for years, belittling the humble, using his wealth to feel superior. I only exposed what was already there." "But what now? What's going to happen?" "This afternoon I'm meeting with the bishop. I'm going to explain what happened, and I'm going to accept whatever he decides. Do you think he'll understand?" The priest was silent for a moment. "I hope so, but I can't guarantee it." I left that parish with a broken heart. I returned home and prayed. I prayed like I'd never prayed before. I asked God to protect that man who defended me when no one else did. In the afternoon, I tried to distract myself. I cleaned the house. I watered the plants. I made food. But my mind was far away. It was at the diocese, with the priest, with the conversation that was happening at that moment. At 5 in the afternoon, the phone rang. It was Donna Margarida. "Helena, have you heard?" "Heard what?" "The priest came back from the diocese, and he wasn't alone." "What do you mean?" "Bruno Marcello was there." My blood ran cold. "And what happened?" "I don't know for sure, but they say there was a discussion, and that the bishop made a decision." What decision?" "I don't know, Helena. No one knows yet." I hung up the phone and sat in the armchair. My mind was chaotic. What if the priest had been transferred? What if he had been punished? I couldn't bear it. That night, I didn't have dinner. I couldn't eat. I only drank some tea and stared out the window. The street was dark, silent, just like my heart. On Thursday morning, I went to the bakery to buy bread. There I met Sir Geraldo again. "Donna Helena, have you heard?" "Heard what, Sir Geraldo?" "The priest is going to make an announcement at Sunday Mass about everything that happened." "An announcement?" "Yes. They say the bishop authorized it, and that Bruno Marcello will also be there." I felt a chill down my spine. "Why? Why would he be there?" "I don't know, Donna Helena, but they say something big is going to happen." I returned home more confused than ever. What would the priest say? What would Bruno Marcello do? Would there be another confrontation? The days until Sunday were the longest of my life. I couldn't stop thinking, imagining scenarios, fearing the worst. On Friday, Camilla came to visit me. She brought flowers. "Grandma Helena, these flowers are for you, to brighten your day." I smiled. That girl was an angel. "Thank you, dear. You are very kind." We talked for a while. She told me about college, about her dreams. And I, for the first time in days, felt at peace. At least for a few minutes. On Saturday, I stayed home all day. I prepared my clothes for Mass the next day. I ironed the navy blue dress. I cleaned the shoes. I mentally rehearsed what I would do if something went wrong. At night, before going to sleep, I knelt beside the bed and prayed. "Lord, I don't know what will happen tomorrow, but I trust in you. Protect Father Antonio. Protect our community. And if it is your will, May justice be done. I slept little. My mind didn't rest. I woke up several times during the night, and when the sun rose, I was already awake. It was Sunday. The day had arrived. I got ready carefully. I put on the dress, put on the shoes, took my purse. But this time, I didn't put an offering inside, not because I didn't want to give, but because I was afraid of being humiliated again. I left home at 9:30. The walk to church seemed longer than ever. My heart was beating fast. My hands were sweating. When I arrived, the church was fuller than usual, much fuller. There were people standing in the back, people I had never seen before. Everyone was there for the same reason. They wanted to know what was going to happen. I sat in my usual place, third pew on the left. I looked around. I saw Donna Margarida, Seu Geraldo, Camila. They all looked at me with affection. But then my eyes found someone. In the first row, Bruno Marcello. He was sitting, looking at the altar. His face was serious, different. There was no arrogance, no smile, just something I couldn't identify. Mass was about to begin, and I knew. What would happen next would change everything. Mass began promptly at 10 o'clock. Father Antonio entered through the center aisle, as he always did, but there was something different in his countenance. He seemed more serious, more determined. We sang the entrance hymn, but my voice was weak. I could barely concentrate. My eyes constantly went to the first row, to Bruno Marcello. He didn't sing, he didn't move. He just looked ahead. After the initial readings, the priest went up to the pulpit. The silence in the church was absolute. Even the children were quiet. "Brothers and sisters," the priest began, "today I would like to talk about something that happened here, in this church, exactly 7 days ago." My heart raced. Everyone knew what he was talking about. An incident that divided opinions, that generated conversations, that brought to light questions about respect, humility, and the true meaning of serving God. He paused. His eyes scanned the crowd. "Many of you approached me during the week, some to support me, others to question me, and that's all right. It's natural for there to be different opinions." Bruno Marcello shifted in his pew. He seemed uncomfortable. "I was called to the diocese. I spoke with the bishop, and he asked me a simple but powerful question. 'Father Antonio, did you act with love or with anger?' The priest took a deep breath. I answered honestly. I acted with love. Love for a sheep that was being hurt. Love for the truth. Love for justice." He looked directly at Bruno. "But I also acknowledged that, by publicly exposing someone's mistake, I could have caused more pain than healing. And for that, I asked the bishop for forgiveness. And now, I ask forgiveness from all of you." A murmur went through the church. I didn't expect that. "However," the priest continued, "I do not regret having defended Donna Helena, because she deserved to be defended. And any person, anywhere, who is humiliated for giving what they have, deserves to be defended." I felt tears streaming down my face, not of sadness, but of gratitude. "And now," the priest said, "I would like to call someone to speak, someone who asked to address all of you." My heart almost stopped. The priest looked at Bruno Marcello. "Mr. Bruno, please." Bruno stood up slowly. He was pale. His hands were shaking. He walked to the pulpit as the priest descended. The church was in total silence. All eyes were on him. Bruno held the edges of the pulpit. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "I don't know if you'll listen to me. I don't know if you'll forgive me, but I need to say this." His voice was broken, different from the arrogant voice of a week ago. "Last Sunday, I did something terrible. I humiliated a person who didn't deserve it. I judged an offering I had no right to judge. I was cruel, arrogant, and unjust." He looked around. His eyes were red, and throughout the week, I tried to convince myself that I was right, that the priest was wrong, that I was the victim. He shook his head. "But I wasn't right, and I'm not the victim. The victim is Donna Helena, the person I hurt." He looked in my direction. Our eyes met. For the first time, I saw something in him I hadn't seen before. Remorse. "Donna Helena," he said, his voice almost a whisper, I ask with all my heart that you forgive me. What I did was unforgivable, but I beg for your mercy. I didn't know what to do. My body was frozen, my mind confused. Bruno continued, I spent the whole week thinking, and I realized something. I have a lot of money. I have cars, houses, trips, but I don't have what you have. True faith, humility, genuine love for God. Tears were streaming down his face now. I came to church for years. I gave large offerings. I thought that made me better than others, but I was wrong. Completely wrong. He wiped his eyes. I went to the diocese, not to complain about the priest, but to apologize, to admit I was wrong, and the bishop told me something I'll never forget. He said, Bruno, God doesn't need your money. God needs your heart. The silence in the church was profound. No one expected that. Bruno took a deep breath once more. And so, starting today, I'm going to change. I don't know if I can change completely, but I'll try. I'll try to be humble. I'll try to respect. I'll try to be worthy of being in this community. He looked at Father Antonio. Father, thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for showing me my mistake. And then he descended from the pulpit. But instead of returning to his pew, he walked to where I was. My heart was beating so hard I thought everyone could hear it. He stopped before me and knelt down. Donna Helena, please, forgive me. I looked at that man who hurt me, who humiliated me, and I saw in him something I didn't expect to see, humanity. I extended my hand. I held his. I forgive you. The words came out of me without thinking, but they were true. Bruno began to cry. There, kneeling in front of everyone, he cried. The entire church was silent. But it wasn't a silence of judgment. It was a silence of respect, of recognition. Father Antonio came to us. He placed his hand on Bruno's shoulder. Stand up, my son. God has already forgiven you. And now, this community has too. Bruno stood up. He hugged me and whispered in my ear, Thank you. Thank you so much. He returned to his pew. Mass continued, but it was different. There was something in the air, something that wasn't there before. It was peace. It was healing. When the moment for offerings came, I hesitated, but then I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Donna Margarida. Go, Helena, go give your offering. I stood up. I held my envelope and walked to the basket. I placed my offering, and this time I didn't feel shame. I felt pride. When I returned to my place, I noticed that Bruno was also taking his offering, but he didn't make a point of showing it. He didn't make a fuss. He just placed it discreetly and returned. Mass ended. People began to leave, but many came to me. They hugged me. They congratulated me. You're a strong woman, Donna Helena. You have a huge heart. You taught us what forgiveness is. I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel special, but I felt at peace. As I was leaving, the priest called me. Donna Helena, may I speak with you for a moment? I agreed. We went to the sacristy. You know you did something incredible today, don't you? I just forgave, Father. It's what Jesus taught us. Exactly. You forgave, even though you were hurt, and that, my daughter, is holiness. I smiled. Thank you, Father, for everything. No, Donna Helena. Thank you for reminding me why I became a priest, for showing me that there is still hope in this world. I left the church that day with a light heart. I walked through the streets of the city. The sun was bright. The birds were singing. And I realized this wasn't just about an offering. It wasn't just about humiliation. It was about transformation. The transformation of a man. The transformation of a community. And in a way, my own transformation. Because I learned that forgiveness is not weakness. It's strength. It's freedom. And that day, I chose to be free. But the story didn't end there. Because what happened in the following weeks revealed something no one expected, something about Father Antonio, something that would change everything once again. The following weeks were the calmest I had had in a long time. Life returned to normal. Masses continued. The community seemed more united than ever. Bruno Marcello kept his promise. He changed. He started arriving on time. He sat in the back pews. He greeted people. He helped with parish events. It was as if he had become a different person. And Father Antonio, he was radiant, happy. They said that had been one of the most memorable moments of his ministry, a true conversion, a real transformation. I was happy too. I felt that everything had been worth it. The pain, the humiliation, the forgiveness, everything. Until one Thursday afternoon, 3 weeks after that memorable Sunday, I received an unexpected visit. It was Camilla, but she wasn't smiling. Her eyes were red, swollen. She had been crying. "Grandma Helena, I need to talk to you." My heart tightened. "Come in, dear." What happened? She came in, sat down in my small living room, and began to cry again. "Camilla, tell me what's happening." She wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. "It's about Father Antonio." I felt a chill run down my spine. "What about the priest?" She hesitated. Her hands were shaking. He did something. Something wrong." "Wrong? What do you mean?" Camilla looked at me. Her eyes were full of pain. "Grandma, the priest used church money, money from the offerings, to pay personal debts." The world spun around me. I couldn't have heard right. "How do you know this?" "My mother works at the parish office. She helps organize the finances. And in recent weeks, she noticed that some amounts were disappearing. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. Maybe it's a mistake." Camilla shook her head. She investigated, checked the records, and discovered that the priest was withdrawing money without authorization and using it to pay personal bills. My chest ached. I remembered how that man defended me, how he was brave, how he made me believe there were still good people in the world. But why? Why would he do that? My mother discovered that he has debts, many debts. It seems he lent money to help a family member, and now he's being charged. Tears began to stream down my face. "And what is your mother going to do?" "She doesn't know. She's afraid. Afraid to report him, afraid to destroy his reputation, afraid to divide the community again." I understood her fear, because I was afraid too. "Camilla, this is very serious." "I know, Grandma. That's why I came to talk to you. You are wise. You know what to do. But I didn't know. I really didn't know." Camilla left, and I sat there trying to process everything. Father Antonio, the man who defended me, the man who preached about honesty and justice, was stealing from the church. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was chaotic. I thought about all the times he spoke about doing the right thing, about not being corrupted by money, and now he himself was doing exactly that. On Friday morning, I went to the bakery. I met Seu Geraldo. "Donna Helena, are you all right? You look worn down." "I'm fine, Seu Geraldo, just a little tired." But he noticed something was wrong. "Donna Helena, if you need to talk, I'm here." I thanked him, but said nothing. Not yet. I spent the day at home. I prayed. I asked God to show me what to do, but no answer came. On Saturday, Donna Margarida called me. "Helena, have you heard about the meeting?" "Meeting? What meeting?" "Camilla's mother called a meeting with the members of the parish council for Sunday night. It seems to be something serious." My heart raced. So she was going to report him. She was going to expose the priest. "Do you know what it's about?" "I'm not sure, but they say it has to do with the church finances." I thanked her and hung up. So that was it. The truth was going to come out, and nothing would be the same again. On Sunday, I went to Mass as always. But it was different. I looked at Father Antonio and saw a divided man, a man who did something good, but also something terrible. He preached about honesty, about integrity, and each word was like a knife in my heart, because I knew the truth. After Mass, I went home, but I couldn't stay still. I decided to go to the parish that night. I needed to be there. I needed to see what was going to happen. I arrived at 7 in the evening. The meeting would be at 7:30. Some council members were already there. Donna Irene, the secretary, Seu Paulo, the treasurer, Donna Margarida, who was part of the prayer group, and Camilla's mother, Claudia, who was visibly nervous. Father Antonio was also there. He seemed confused. He didn't know why the meeting had been called. At 7:30, everyone was seated. Claudia stood up. "Thank you all for being here. I know it's unusual to call a meeting like this, but it's necessary." The priest looked at her. "Claudia, What's happening? She took a deep breath. Father Antonio, in recent weeks, I have been reviewing the parish finances, and I discovered some irregularities. The priest's face paled. Irregularities? Yes, amounts that were withdrawn from the church account without authorization, without justification. The silence in the room was deafening, and after investigating, I discovered that these withdrawals were made by you. The priest remained silent. His eyes were fixed on the floor. Father, do you have anything to say? He didn't respond. He just stood there, paralyzed. Claudia continued, I have the records here, the dates, the amounts, everything documented. She placed the papers on the table. Father, I need to know. Why did you do this? The priest finally raised his eyes, and there were tears in them. I had debts, personal debts. He nodded. My brother? He's sick. He needs treatment, expensive treatment. I borrowed money to help him, but I couldn't pay it back. Claudia shook her head. Father, that doesn't justify it. You used money that wasn't yours. Money that was given by humble people, people like Donna Helena. When I heard my name, I felt as if I had been punched. The priest looked at me, and I saw in him the same shame I felt that Sunday, the same humiliation. Donna Helena, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to say. My heart was broken. Father, said Claudia, you preached about integrity, about doing the right thing, and at the same time you were doing exactly the opposite. I know I was wrong. I was desperate. My brother is all I have. I didn't know what to do. And why didn't you ask for help? Why weren't you transparent with the community? Because I was ashamed. Ashamed to admit I couldn't solve my own problems. Ashamed to show weakness. So Paulo, the treasurer, spoke up. Father, how much did you take? The priest hesitated. In total, about 3,000. There was a murmur in the room. And do you intend to return it? Yes, I will return it, every penny, I swear. But when, Father? How? I don't know, but I'll find a way. Claudia sighed. Father, I understand your situation, but you broke the trust, and now this matter needs to be taken to the bishop. The priest closed his eyes. He knew what that meant. It meant the end of his career, the end of everything. I stood up. I didn't plan it. I just did. May I speak? Everyone looked at me. Donna Helena, said Claudia, you don't need to. Yes, I do. I walked to the center of the room. Father Antonio made a mistake. A serious mistake. That's undeniable. The priest looked at me with eyes full of tears. But he also did something that few would have the courage to do. He defended me when no one else did. I paused. That doesn't erase his mistake, but it also doesn't erase the good he did. I looked at everyone in the room. I don't know what the right decision is, but I know that we have all made mistakes, we have all failed, and we all need mercy. The silence returned, but it was a different silence. It was a silence of reflection. My words echoed in that small room. Everyone looked at me, some with approval, others with uncertainty, and Father Antonio looked at me with a gratitude that hurt. Claudia broke the silence. Donna Helena, I understand what you're saying, but mercy cannot replace responsibility. I agree, I replied. I'm not saying he shouldn't be held accountable. I'm saying that perhaps we can find a way to do it without destroying him completely. So Paulo spoke up. And how do you suggest we do that? I took a deep breath. I didn't have all the answers, but I had an idea. The priest said he will return the money. How about we give him a chance to do that, under supervision, with total transparency? And what about the bishop? Asked Donna Irene. This needs to be reported. Yes, it does, I agreed, but maybe we can report it along with a restitution plan, show that the community is dealing with this in a mature way. Father Antonio finally spoke. His voice was weak, broken. You don't need to do this for me. I made a mistake. I deserve the consequences. Father, I said, we all deserve consequences for our mistakes, but we also deserve chances to make things right, just as Bruno Marcello received. That resonated in the room, because it was true. Weeks ago, that same community had witnessed a second chance being given. Donna Margarida, who had remained silent until then, raised her hand. I agree with Donna Helena. I think we should give the priest an opportunity to redeem himself. Sir Paulo still seemed skeptical. And if he can't return the money, then he will face the appropriate consequences, said Claudia. But at least we will have given him a chance. There was a vote. 5 people in favor of giving the priest a chance. 2 against. The majority won. Claudia turned to the priest. Father Antonio, here are the conditions. You have 6 months to fully return the 3,000 that were withdrawn. During this period, all finances will be supervised by me and São Paulo, and the bishop will be informed of everything. The priest nodded. I accept, and I thank you, more than you can imagine. And, Claudia continued, you need to open up to the community. You need to be transparent about what happened. Not in intimate details, but honestly. I will do that. The meeting ended. People began to leave. I stayed behind, still processing everything. The priest came to me. Donna Helena, I don't know how to thank you. Father, I didn't do this for gratitude. I did it because it was the right thing. Even so, you could have condemned me. You had every right. Condemning is easy, Father. Forgiving and helping is hard. But that's what we're called to do. He held my hands. I promise I'll fix this. I'll return every penny, and I'll regain everyone's trust. I believe in you, Father, but now you need to believe in yourself. I left the parish that night with a heavy heart, because I knew the priest's journey was just beginning, and that it would be painful. The following Sunday, as promised, the priest made an announcement. He publicly confessed what he had done. He didn't give details, but he was honest. I made a serious mistake. I used church resources for personal purposes, and for that, I ask forgiveness from all of you. The community's reaction was mixed. Some were shocked, others disappointed, but most decided to support him as long as he fulfilled the restitution plan. Bruno Marcello, curiously, was one of the first to speak up. Father, you gave me a second chance. Now it's my turn to support you. That was powerful, because it showed that transformation is possible and that people can change. In the following weeks, the priest worked tirelessly. He took on extra work. He taught catechism classes at other parishes. He performed ceremonies at private events, all to be able to return the money. I saw him tired, exhausted, but determined. 3 months later, he had already returned half, and the community began to notice the seriousness of his commitment. But then something unexpected happened. It was a Thursday afternoon when I received a visit from Bruno Marcello. He knocked on my door, smiling. Donna Helena, may I come in? Of course, Bruno, come in. He entered and sat down in my small living room. I came here because I want to do something, and I need your approval. My approval? For what? I want to pay the priest's remaining debt. I was speechless. Bruno, that's 1,500. That's a lot. For me, it's nothing. And more importantly, it's the right thing to do. But why? Why would you do this? He smiled. Because the priest taught me about second chances. And now I want to be part of his second chance. I felt tears in my eyes. But you have to promise one thing, he continued. This needs to be anonymous. The priest can't know it was me. He needs to feel he achieved it on his own. But he already returned half. Exactly. So let's do this. I'll donate the remaining amount directly to the church as an anonymous offering. And when the priest finishes paying what he can, the debt will already be settled. I thought for a moment. Are you sure about this? Absolutely. Then all right. Let's do it this way. Bruno made the donation that same week, and 2 weeks later, when the priest went to make another payment, he discovered that the debt was already fully settled. He was confused. He went to Claudia. What do you mean, settled? I still owed 1,200. Father, someone made an anonymous donation and specifically asked that it be used to cover your debt. The priest remained silent. Who was it? I can't say. It was a condition of the donation, the priest cried. There, in the parish office, he cried. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve so much kindness. Father, said Claudia, maybe it's not about deserving. Maybe it's about grace. The following Sunday, the priest made another announcement. Brothers and sisters, 3 months ago, I confessed a serious mistake, and I promised to fix it. I worked hard to return what I had taken. But today, I discovered that someone, anonymously, paid the remainder of my debt. He paused, wiping his eyes. I don't know who it was, but I want that person to know they changed my life, and that they taught me the true meaning of mercy. I looked at Bruno. He was sitting in the back of the church, smiling discreetly. The priest continued. During these months, I learned something. I learned that being a leader is not being above others. It's being willing to fall and get up in front of them. It's being transparent, vulnerable, human. I'm still a priest. I still want to serve God and you, but now I do it with humility, with awareness of my limitations. Mass ended with applause. Not applause of celebration, but of respect, of recognition. After Mass, I went to Bruno. You did a beautiful thing. No, Donna Helena, you did. You taught me to forgive, and now I'm just passing it forward. That day, I realized something. This story wasn't just about an arrogant businessman, or about a humble elderly woman, or about a flawed priest. It was about all of us, about how we all make mistakes, about how we all need forgiveness, and about how, when we choose grace instead of judgment, we all come out transformed. I walked home that afternoon with my heart at peace. The sun was setting, the streets were quiet, and I knew that small community had gone through something rare, something precious. We had gone through fire, and we came out purified. But the story doesn't end here, because what happened afterward revealed the true legacy of all this, a legacy that no one expected. 6 months had passed since that Sunday that changed everything. The small parish of San Jose was never the same again, but not in the way many imagined. Donna Helena continued her routine. She woke up early. She walked to church on Sundays. She sat in the third pew on the left, and she gave her offering with the same humility as always. But now there was something different. People greeted her with more affection. Young people came to ask for advice. Children called her grandma. She had become, without realizing it, a reference figure in the community. Father Antonio remained at the parish. The bishop, after being informed of everything and seeing the restitution effort, decided that the best punishment would be the redemption journey itself. He continued as parish priest, but now with closer supervision of the finances. And something curious happened. The priest became more human in the eyes of the community. His sermons had more depth, his words more weight. Because now he spoke not just as someone who taught, but as someone who had learned firsthand. Bruno Marcello was perhaps the most visible transformation. The businessman who previously only thought about himself now dedicated part of his time and resources to helping those most in need. He created an assistance fund for needy families in the parish. Discreet, anonymous, exactly as he had learned. He and Donna Helena developed an unlikely friendship. Every week he visited her. He brought bread, fruit, sometimes flowers. They talked about life, about faith, about mistakes and successes. Donna Helena, he said once, you saved my soul that day. It wasn't me, Bruno. It was God working through all of us. But you were the one who planted the seed, with your humility, with your forgiveness, she smiled. And you watered that seed with your transformation. The story of that Sunday spread, not just in the city, but in neighboring parishes. People came from far away to visit the church where the miracle of the humble offering happened. But Donna Helena didn't like that attention. She didn't see herself as special, just as an ordinary woman who did what she thought was right. One day, a local journalist looked for the parish. She wanted to do a report on the case. Father Antonio consulted Donna Helena. What do you think? Should we allow it? She thought for a moment. Father, if this story can help someone understand the value of forgiveness, then yes. But with one condition, don't portray me as a heroine. I'm not. I'm just a woman who was loved by God and learned to love back. The report aired 2 weeks later. It was sensitive, respectful. It told the story of a community that faced failures, humiliations, and disappointments, but chose grace instead of condemnation. The impact was greater than expected. Letters began to arrive from all over the country, people sharing their own stories of forgiveness, of second chances, of transformation. One letter in particular deeply touched Donna Helena. It was from a woman from another state. "Dear Donna Helena, my name is Mariana. 3 years ago, I was betrayed by my husband. I forgave him, but I never forgot. I held on to resentment, I held on to bitterness, until I heard your story. And I realized that true forgiveness is not forgetting. It's releasing. It's choosing peace instead of pain. Because of your story, I decided to truly forgive, and my marriage was restored. Thank you for teaching me what grace is." Donna Helena cried when she read that letter, not from sadness, but from fulfillment. Her pain had served something greater, but not everything was roses. There were people who criticized, who said the priest should have been removed, that forgiveness was too easy, that justice was not done. Claudia, Camilla's mother, faced some of these criticisms. "You made it too easy," they said. "A priest who steals should be expelled." But Claudia had a ready answer. "He didn't steal out of greed. He made a mistake out of desperation, and he paid for it. With work, with transparency, and with humility. That's not making it easy. It's restorative justice." Sao Paulo, the treasurer, was also questioned. "What if he does it again? Then there will be more severe consequences. But until then, we give him the benefit of the doubt, just as Jesus did with Peter, just as God does with all of us." The small parish of São José became a model. Other churches began to adopt similar practices of financial transparency, of community supervision, of accountability with mercy. 9 months after that fateful Sunday, the parish organized a special event, a community dinner to celebrate the journey they had traveled together. Donna Helena didn't want to go. She thought it was excessive, but Camilla insisted. "Grandma, you need to be there. You're part of this." Reluctantly, she agreed. The parish hall was decorated with simplicity, long tables, white tablecloths, flowers from the church garden. Nothing extravagant, nothing that departed from the essence of that community, humble but dignified. When Donna Helena entered, everyone stood up and applauded. She was embarrassed, but also touched. Father Antonio was the first to speak. "Today we celebrate not one person, but a community. We celebrate the fact that we are imperfect, but that, together, we can become better." He looked at Donna Helena. "Donna Helena, you taught us that strength is not in how much we give, but in how we give. And that dignity is not measured by the size of the offering, but by the sincerity of the heart." He turned to Bruno Marcello. "Bruno, you taught us that change is possible, that humility can be born even in the proudest heart." And then he touched his own chest. "And me? I learned that being a leader is being vulnerable. It's admitting failures. It's letting the community correct me, sustain me, and help me grow." There was sincere applause. Not empty praise, but genuine recognition. Bruno Marcello also wanted to speak. "A year ago, I was an empty man. Rich, but empty. I had everything, but I had nothing, until I was confronted and humiliated, and ironically it was the best thing that happened to me." He looked at Donna Helena. "You could have hated me. You should have hated me, but you chose to forgive me, and that changed my life, literally." His voice faltered. "Today I have purpose, I have peace, and I have real friends, all because a 78-year-old woman showed me what it means to be great." Donna Helena wiped her eyes. She couldn't hold back the tears. Then Camilla asked for the floor. "I'm 24 years old, and I grew up seeing the same people at church every week, but I had never seen real transformation. Until now." She looked around. "This story taught me that faith is not just believing, it's acting. It's forgiving when it hurts, it's helping when it's difficult, it's choosing love when hate would be easier." She turned to Donna Helena. "Grandma Helena, when I grow up, I want to be like you, strong, humble, and full of grace." The evening continued with food, laughter, and many stories. Stories of how that event had changed individual lives. Donna Margarida told how she was inspired to forgive a son who had hurt her years ago. Seu Geraldo told how he began to treat his customers with more patience and kindness. Donna Irene told how she learned not to judge by appearances. Each story was a thread, and together they formed a beautiful tapestry of collective transformation. When the event ended, Donna Helena was exhausted, but happy, very happy. Upon arriving home, she sat in her old armchair and looked out the window. The moon was full, the stars were shining, and she whispered a prayer. "Thank you, Lord, for using even my pain for something beautiful, for transforming humiliation into a lesson, for working miracles through ordinary people like me." She closed her eyes and smiled, because now she knew that Sunday was not an accident. It was a turning point, not just for her, but for everyone, and the legacy of that day would continue for generations. 1 year after that Sunday that changed everything, life in the small town seemed to have found a new rhythm. A rhythm marked not by perfection, but by authenticity. Donna Helena turned 79. The entire community gathered to celebrate her, not because she was special in the traditional sense, but because she represented something rare, the strength that comes from humility. At the party, simple and welcoming, Bruno Marcello made a point of giving a speech. "A year and a half ago, I was a lost man. I thought success was measured in money, in power, in how much people envied me." He paused, looking at Donna Helena, who was sitting in front, a little shy with all the attention. "But then I met a woman who showed me that true wealth is having peace in your heart. It's being able to look in the mirror and like who you see. It's knowing that your life made a difference in someone's life." Tears streamed down his face. "Donna Helena, you didn't give me a sermon. You didn't judge me afterward. You just forgave me. And that forgiveness broke the chains that bound me to my own pride." He knelt before her, as he had done on that memorable Sunday. "Thank you for saving me." Donna Helena held his face with her trembling hands. "Bruno, it was God who saved you. I was just the instrument." "And what a precious instrument," he replied. The party continued with genuine joy. There was no ostentation, no pretense, just people who had learned to value what is essential. But while everyone celebrated, something was happening behind the scenes, something no one knew yet. Father Antonio had received a letter from the diocese. He read it alone in his office that morning. The letter brought an offer, a promotion. He would be transferred to a larger parish, in a larger city. More prestige, more resources, more recognition. It was everything a priest could desire, or at least it was what he thought he desired years ago. But now, looking at that simple community through the window, he wasn't sure. He decided to wait for the right moment to announce, and that moment came at the end of the party. "May I have everyone's attention?" he said, climbing onto a small makeshift platform. The murmur ceased. "I want to thank everyone for being here, and take this opportunity to share some news." Everyone looked with curiosity. "I received a letter from the diocese, an offer to transfer me to a larger parish." There was a tense silence. Everyone feared the answer. "And after much reflection and prayer, I decided." The priest looked at the people, at Donna Helena, Bruno, Camila, Donna Margarida, Seu Geraldo, all those who accompanied him through his worst phase and helped him get up. "I decided to decline." A collective sigh of relief filled the room, because I learned that greatness is not in the size of the parish, it's in the depth of relationships. And here I found something that no title or promotion can give, a real family. The applause was spontaneous and emotional. Donna Helena stood up, supported by her cane, and walked to him. "Father, are you sure?" "Absolutely, Donna Helena. You showed me who I really want to be, and I can't abandon that." She hugged him. And in that simple embrace was contained the entire journey they had traveled together. In the following months, the small parish of São José became a reference, not for being large, not for being rich, but for being real, Other communities sent representatives to understand how they had dealt with scandals, forgiveness, and restoration in such a healthy way. And whenever someone asked what the secret was, the answer was always the same: transparency, humility, and grace. 2 years after that initial Sunday, something extraordinary happened. Donna Helena became ill. Nothing serious, but enough to worry. She spent a few days hospitalized, and during those days, the hospital became a pilgrimage site. Dozens of people went to visit her, bring flowers, pray for her. Bruno Marcello discreetly paid all medical expenses. When Donna Helena found out, she was furious. "Bruno, I don't need charity." "It's not charity, Donna Helena. It's love. Let me give back at least a fraction of what you gave me." She sighed, but accepted, because she had learned that receiving is also a form of humility. When she was discharged, the church organized a special Thanksgiving Mass. The hall was packed, and for the first time Donna Helena agreed to go up to the pulpit to speak. "I'm not good with words," she began, her voice fragile but firm, "but I want to say something." Everyone listened in absolute silence. "All my life, I was invisible. A poor woman, a widow, unimportant, and I got used to it." She paused, looking at the crowd. "But 2 years ago something happened. I was humiliated, publicly, and it hurt. It hurt a lot." Tears began to stream down. But from that pain, something beautiful was born. A community that chose love instead of hate, forgiveness instead of revenge, grace instead of condemnation. She looked at Bruno. "I forgave a man who hurt me, and he became one of my greatest friends." She looked at the priest. "I supported a leader who failed, and he became a true shepherd." She looked at the entire church. "And you, all of you, taught me that I was never invisible. I always had value, I always had dignity. I just needed someone to remind me of that." Her voice failed. "Thank you for showing me that even a small offering can generate a great miracle." There wasn't a dry eye in the church. The crying was collective, but not of sadness. It was of recognition, of gratitude. Father Antonio ended the Mass with a reflection. Donna Helena's story teaches us something fundamental. God doesn't just use the perfect. Actually, he rarely uses them. God uses the broken, the humiliated, the imperfect, because they are the ones who understand grace. He looked at everyone. "We are a church of broken people, and that's okay, because it's in our broken pieces that God's light shines brightest." Years passed. Donna Helena lived to be 84. When she passed, it was in peace, surrounded by those she loved. Her funeral was the largest the town had ever seen, not because she was rich or famous, but because she was loved. Bruno Marcello gave a speech through tears. "This woman changed my life, and I know I wasn't the only one. She taught us that greatness is not in what we have, but in what we give. And she gave everything: her forgiveness, her kindness, her faith." Father Antonio celebrated the Mass, and at the end, he said something that marked everyone. Donna Helena was not a saint in the traditional sense. She had flaws, fears, insecurities, but she was saintly in the real sense. Someone who chose to love when it was easier to hate. Someone who chose to forgive when the wound was still open. Someone who chose to give even when she had so little. He paused. "And now it's up to us to continue her legacy, not with grand gestures, but with small acts of love, because that's how she lived. And that's how she taught us to live." Donna Helena was buried in a simple ceremony, but her tombstone carried a phrase that summed up everything. She gave little, but she gave everything. And that small parish, which one day was the scene of humiliation and scandal, became a symbol that transformation is possible, that forgiveness is powerful, that grace is real, and that sometimes the greatest miracles happen through the most unlikely people. Because God doesn't choose the capable, he enables the chosen. And Donna Helena, with her humble offering and her immense heart, was chosen for something greater than she ever imagined, not to be famous, but to be a lighthouse that illuminated the path for many. and that continues to illuminate today. And you, would you have the courage to forgive like Donna Helena, or would you confront the one who publicly humiliated you? Comment, "I would forgive," or "I would confront." I want to know your opinion. Did this story touch you? Then share it so that more people can know the power of grace.